Leaders from government and industry are making plans to go to the Executive Leadership Conference in Williamsburg, October 23rd through 25th. Government Matters is a media partner of the event. ACT-IAC hosts that conference every year, but this year you'll see a little different lineup than you've seen before. David Bray, the Chief Information Officer at the Federal Communications Commission, is the government co-chair for ELC. Teresa Bozelli of Sapient Government Services is the industry co-chair. Folks, thanks for coming on. David, I'll start with you first because I saw your brand is on this hashtag change agents. What is new? What are you doing differently at ELC this year than you've done before?
So what Teresa and I are trying to do is make it as engaging as possible. So not so much the people talking to the audience, but instead get the audience involved. You'll see on Monday, we're going to actually have people in interactive panels talking about what they think should be done differently in 2017 by the next administration, whoever that might be. The morning will be people making pitches on their own. The afternoon will be people in teams of 3 to 5 making those pitches, and actually will be judged, and those votes for the judging winning entries actually get to present with the next administration.
Teresa, what are you keeping that people like about ELC historically that they wouldn't want to get rid of?
We're actually playing on that theme of looking back in order to act differently for the future. So we are keeping some of the keynote ideas, the foundation of, we have a great partner class graduating this year. Williamsburg is such a wonderful location to really anchor ourselves in our history as we really define and really design our future. So it is about delivering results differently and better. So great speakers, great lineup, but we are mixing it up, as David said. We want to hear from executives, experience, new and evolving leaders, but all with the foundation of looking at technology and what are we as the key elements of serving this public sector. What are we going to do? I
note in the lineup of guests that you have speaking that you have more, my observation is more non-government, non-traditional contracting industry people than before. Why is that, David?
Because the diversity of thought leads to better outcomes. I think part of the condition when they actually offered to both Teresa and I to do ELC, quite frankly, we both said, one of the things I put forward was, we'd only do it if it was 50% or more of the invited speakers were women, 25% or more were Gen X, Gen Y, and 25% or more were from outside the DC area. And that's just because really, if we're going to talk about what we're going to do differently and better in 2017, we can't have the same conversations. We can definitely learn from those conversations, but we really need to bring a diversity of thought about what we can do going forward.
So what do you want to do to push that specific? You've talked about some of the programmatic elements, and that's great, but how do you want to drive those conversations that I always find are the most useful at ELC, which are the ones that happen in the hallways in between the programmatic elements?
Well, there's two things I really want to highlight. One is we're going to have during the lunch session and in the evening and in the morning of the last day, something that we're calling edgy debates. So we're going to get an experienced leader and a rising star leader in our industry talk about what they've heard, the good points, the bad points, and really be a little provocative. We expect that's also going to create a lot of language in the hallway and on our digital channels. But we're also designing sessions, kind of co-creation sessions, where we're going to have topics, and we're going to really move people into those areas to debate among themselves of what they've heard. We're hoping that we'll find you there as well.
I won't be hard to find at ELC,
creating a little bit more of that conversation with us as we go forward. So.
The biggest challenge for an event like this always is, how do you put the information together in such a way that the people who are there can use it when they get back to DC, and the people who weren't there can learn from the people who were there, and this spreads out so that it goes beyond the 800 or 1,000 people who were in Williamsburg. How do you expect to see that happen this year, David?
So part of being a good change agent is the ability to network across organizations. And so we've actually done as much as we can to make things for attribution, which is a change from ELCs in the past. And so the things that are talked about there will be available and can be talked about beyond just the audience that's present there. Two, we're going to have graphical artists, and so they're going to actually capture graphical narratives of what's being done. We hope those can be shared as well. And then finally, by actually allowing for those center stage events where the audience can vote, the goal is not only will it happen there, but it will carry over over as to what we're talking about in February, March, and April of next year, so it has a ripple effect beyond just the event in Williamsburg.
So you've also taken on the idea of the TED Talks kind of talk. Tell me how that's going to work in this environment, Teresa.
We have the TED Talks format on Monday morning, and we had an application process. An incredible number of people really want to be part of our program, so it was very inspiring topics, hard to pick, just down to a few. But we will have a TED Talk format, and it's called Voice of Change. So we want to hear from people who know of things that are going on in government but should be done more at scale and get really much more into the fabric of how we will be the best public servants that we can all be. So we're excited to hear from some authors, some young leaders who have a lot of great things to say, and some experienced leaders as well.
All right, Teresa used a word that I want to know more about, David, and that's scale. Is this something we're going to focus on this year, that you're going to focus on how you take the ideas, the innovation points that we see that are succeeding, and expand them in a way that's useful for a lot more elements of government?
Absolutely. In fact, I think the only reason why I signed up was the fact that, 3 years ago, there were probably just a few voices talking about the need for IT modernization, the need for change agents. I think we're now at the point where finally IT modernization has caught on and got the buzz. But the reality is there's much more we need to do beyond that. We need to rethink about how we do public service, how it's not just delivering things to the public, but the public, if they want to, they can volunteer and actually get involved in the process as well. And so having that conversation to make sure it's not just the 800 people that gather together at ELC, but in fact it grows to 8,000, 800,000, and even more. And we really are thinking about the entire nation, not just DC. To me, that's why Teresa and I signed up to be change agents for ELC.
Teresa Bozzelli, David Bray, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing you in Williamsburg in a couple of weeks. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.